This is the granddaddy of them all. This is the ultimate throwback episode for the Southern Outdoorsmen Podcast, episode 116 with Glen Solomon, the classic of all classics. It's what we reference probably maybe more than any other podcast episode, especially over the last 4 or so years. This episode originally came out in 2019, July of 2019, and this is all about just being able to hunt deer in the Southeast, hunt them on public land, hunt them on your lease, wherever. No matter where you're from, you're going to get a lot out of this episode and a lot out of what Glen has to say here. And this is the only interview that Glen ever actually did for a podcast. He unfortunately passed away about 1 month after this episode dropped. And we've been holding out reposting this episode until right now is the 5-year anniversary of this episode. Since then, we've put out several hundred more podcast episodes. I mentioned this was 116. Now we're on 600 something. And so, yeah, I'm excited to throw this one back. Jacob, what you think?
It's probably the most impactful podcast we've ever done, from not only changing our perspective, like with how we do the podcast, but also from a listenership standpoint. Typically, for any new listeners that, start tuning to the show, if they ask other listeners what episodes to listen to, 116 episode Glen Solomon comes up almost every single time. And it's also what we typically recommend as well for a new listener turning into the podcast, to listen to episode 116. So I'm glad we're able to share it again for you guys, especially for the YouTube audience, and kind of get some insight to a guy who is very wise when it comes to whitetail hunting, but also all kinds of hunting in the Southeast, and someone that we would classify as a true woodsman. Glen also used to write for Georgia Outdoor News, their magazine, GON's magazine, and his family, after actually he passed away, family and friends actually put together a book of a lot of his writings and everything. Yep. Which is
it's called Hunting on the Fly.
Yeah, Hunting on the Fly.
And I'll link it in the description down below so you can go find that. It is available on Amazon, but for some reason I had kind of a hard time finding it, so I'll put the link down there to the actual book.
Yep, so y'all can go check it out. Highly recommend it, getting it and kind of owning a little piece of history, but also getting a better insight into Glen's thoughts and perspectives on hunting and just everything outdoors. So really excited to be able to share this again with you guys. Andrew, you have anything else?
Just a little bit about Glen real quick. You were actually telling somebody this the other day at the expo, but he had a group of him and his buddies. I think they were called the WMA Nomads, and essentially what Glen was doing was he was traveling around the state of Georgia and chasing the rut, hunting a lot of different wildlife management areas, and you get bonus bucks in Georgia. And the year before we interviewed him, he killed 5 mature bucks on 5 different properties in Georgia. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, 5 really good deer.
Yeah,
just by chasing the rut. So 2 state tags, 3 bonus buck tags. And he talks a little bit about that in this episode, and again, kind of his insight onto replicating that success year over year, and how he'll learn an area this year, maybe not kill a buck on it this year, but he'll apply what he knows from this year, using it for the next season, and actually going in there and killing, really, really nice deer. So, but yeah, like again, his buddy who's reached out to the podcast, I think I've talked to him a little bit in the past. I haven't talked to him in a little while, but Mark Williams, if you're watching this or listening to it, again, appreciate you and your support in the past, again, with the podcast. But Glen and Mark were really, really close, and hunted a bunch together, and he was part of that group as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just an awesome guy, and you can tell that Glen was a pillar of his community and a huge loss, when he unexpectedly passed away. And so us being able to share this episode means a lot to us because he had a big impact on our podcast and our business, frankly. His episode kind of taught us how to do podcasts and changed the entire trajectory of what we were doing with Southern Outdoorsmen. So normally we don't do these little intros like this, but we felt like this is a special occasion to kind of introduce you to Glen if you're unfamiliar about where this episode came from or who Glen was, and also to plug his book so you can go and purchase that. And of course his family's in charge of all that, so you're supporting his family. And yeah, I think that's about it. We got anything else here?
No, just appreciate y'all watching this episode. Appreciate y'all listening to this episode, and let's kick it over with our interview with Glen Solomon.
All right, everybody, we're back with Mr. Glen Solomon, who has been very patient with us because we messed up the last recording. So Glen, we really appreciate you coming back on, man. How are you doing?
All right, doing fine. How about y'all?
Doing pretty good, Jacob.
Yeah, doing excellent. Glen, was super excited to talk with you, especially after this past week's episode that we just released this past Sunday, or actually this Monday. Yeah. was all about how to break down new properties. And I think this podcast with you, this episode with you, kind of diving into hunting public land and really targeting bucks on public land and having really high success rates is going to be kind of an additive and really kind of step up the game for people scouting for this fall and getting ready for this fall. So really excited to talk with you this week about that, and really love for this conversation to kind of dive deep on everything you do on public land, especially how you are locating these bucks. But before we do that, Andrew, I think we'll kind of start off like we did last time.
Yeah,
asking a little bit more about them.
Introduction. So, Glenn had one heck of a year last year deer hunting. So, Glenn, why don't you walk us through your season and kind of some of the success that you had, and then later on we might dive into some of those specific hunts.
Well, I reckon the first man of the area I had some success on was Alligator Creek WMA. I found a little nook. It's a hammer WMA. It's a couple years old. Opened the whole entire season. So there was a lot of people come from all over state, out of state, and just camped on it and hammered them. But I found a little tiny nook. Everybody riding right by. In fact, I can see somebody's back porch lights on private land there about it. But anyway, it's a short walk, but a real thick walk, and I sent a pile of bucks down in there the January before, after season went out, and figured out where some deer was bedding in a little tie bay right there, and had a good buck or two right there, and I just notated that and come back to black powder season over the early doe and heat, and let them go by. Usually meat hunt a lot. We like to live off land much as we can, but freezer is doing pretty good, so I let them walk, and I had this buck pop out on their trail, and pretty nice buck, and got him, and just pretty much on the routines I do, I'll scout right after season goes out and mark the spot, because the first time in is the best time. There ain't no residual scent. I don't go and hang stands before the day before the hunt. About every hunt I do, every day. Every morning set, every evening set, midday set, my climber comes in, it comes out. And I like to go in, the first time is the best time. And that allowed me to get him. And then another hunt, I went back in turkey season and found where a buck had bedding at Lapahawk WMA, and found where he's bedding in a little flat pond swamp, little tiny, about an acre big, in the middle of some head-high gallberries. So I went ahead in there and trimmed me just a few gallberries, got the most distant tree I could get to look into that little flat pond where he's bedding. Had to get up about 40 foot to look in there because of how high the gallberry was, and I got in there real early because it make a little noise getting in there. Got about 2 hours before daylight. I learned a long time ago, if you're hunting their bedding areas, the biggest thing you can do, or even feeding areas, like open hardwood flats and bow season, deer bed on an acorn tree, just say. But I learned a long time ago, old timer told me one time, he killed a lot of bucks on a mare there. It was clear cut, and had a lot of thick strips left, 100 yards wide, a quarter mile wide. He said, I start about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, put the climber on back, and I just walk down them strands of cover that's left. When I jump a deer, I climb right there. He said, they'll come back.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He said, well, if it don't come back, it's a rut. You got every buck around there is going to know where every bedding area. They're going to connect the dots. A buck could show up anytime, anyhow. They're going to connect the dots on all the bedding and feeding areas where those go. Okay, makes sense. Anyway, I started doing that, and I go in them beds close to bedding areas, and I'll use a stylus green pin line. I just keep it to the ground. If I go in, I don't know why. I just followed his advice from probably 1980 something, and I've been doing it ever since. But I'll start about 2 hours before daylight, sometimes earlier, and just take my time, put my climber on back. Remember, it's first time in, first time in the best time, and I go ahead and get on in there. Sometimes I can hear the deer shuffle around, but most times they don't blow or take off or nothing. And you talk to coon hunters a lot. They see deer all the time, shine at them, look at them, walk right by them, bedded down, don't jump. But if you I don't know why, what I'm getting at is by saying all this, if you go in there 30 minutes before daylight, it's still just as black dark as it is 2 hours before daylight. them deer blow, run off, and you probably won't even see no deer. If any, it might be about midday they'll come back. But anyway, I got early in this spot for that deer. I heard him come in there. He laid down and pretty close, and I thought he might have snuck out. He finally stood up about 10:30, and I got that 8-point. And let's see where I go next. I went to another area. I actually found this one in season, black powder hunt. And I went over there one evening. This one close to the house over at Horse Creek, WMA, and I went mainly to check an area that has a little hidden canal that runs through the biggest tie bay on the entire manager area. You got to know where the rabbit hole to get in there. Then you can see 400 or 500 yards about knee to waist high if you keep it trim. And the little mounds from back when they did it, probably back in the 30s or 40s, whenever they dug all that many moons ago, I found where a buck had bedded down on the side of it, and a lot of fresh rubs. And so I backtracked this trail I know I couldn't kill him in there with the thermals is, so I come back out to the pines, and there were some thin pines. He was popping out in a little flat pond, about a little half acre swamp flat pond. He had a staging area right there. I could see where he had a bunch of rubs, ground toe up straight. I said, that's his staging area, either where he gonna rub going back in, or where he comes and waits on Black Door to come out in the pine. So I got as close as that spot, marked that tree. And fast forward, months later, I killed that deer Lappaha, and I had a doe the day before there, so I had my 2 bonus deer and had my tags filled. So I just left camp. My friend, the camper and all, just did a Hail Mary, about a little less than an hour drive from where I was camping on that hunt to that manager's area. And about 10 minutes after daylight, he come right there and stopped, and I killed him right there where he staged up to go back in his little rabbit hole for the day. Mm-hmm. And I was the third nice 8-point kill. The second 8-point. The first one was 11-point. So I got two bonus deer and a tag deer. So I'm still good. Three nice mature bucks. 1 state tag left, and went to Chickasaw, and I actually found this buck bedding area. I had to move to a new area. There was a lot of pressure in my old area, in the other area, and I went and found a spot. I had lesser deer, but I found where one big buck was really wearing it out, and kind of half figured out his scrape line and where he cut into a old logging deck. And I was kind of pretty sure that's where he laid up for the day. I spotted a distant tree to be downwind of there. I had to get up about 40 foot to see in there. 5 minutes after daylight, passed his last scrape right, and I killed him. He run right in the logging deck and fell right by his bed in there. And got another nice one. I'm trying to remember the other now. Still 5 nice sure bucks, 3.5 to 5.5.
Now that's a heck of a year when you're having trouble remembering all the bucks you killed.
I hunt about the whole season. I might miss 1 or 2 days from October to mid-January. I don't miss too much. Go to church on Sunday, and I'm pretty much hunting or pre-scouting for a hunt. A lot of places I've been chasing these WMAs for 35 years. I've hunted over 40-something of these things over the years and killed deer on most of them. I pretty well know where I'm going. I just mainly go to look, see the people sign intrusion, see how deep they're going. And I use a lot of hunter access trails sometimes. We got a lot of trails in the WA. You can go a couple mile deep, 2 miles deep, and plus you can branch off them in the woods. Some people do make the walk. They don't go make the walk and go in the woods, so kind of got to see where everybody else is and know where I need to be.
Kind of scouting that pressure.
All go back to process elimination. I try to get them. I hunt the perimeter where I think they're bedding first, and about a second evening or the last morning, I either go for the gold and go dive right on in and do or die.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's a good security area. There'll be another buck. There's several. Over the years, I've killed 2 and 3 deer out of the same bachelor group. They'll use the same, when the heat gets on, they use the same security area. Our hot weather down here most of the time, wherever they bed in the start of season, if you got a good security area, they're going to be bedding there later too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Glenn, so, Just to kind of lay some more groundwork for all this, for everyone listening right now. So Glenn lives in Georgia. Georgia, you're allowed to kill, is it $2 or $3 in the state of Georgia, just like the state tags?
Yeah, it's $2. One's got to have at least 4 points or more on one side of the two, and we're allowed 10 does. And then we, on the managed areas, we, if it's a check-in hunt in the regulation, it says check-in, that means you can kill two deer. If it's on a quality buck regulation, WMA is a check-in. On one of those two can be a buck. The other one's gonna have to be a doe.
Okay.
And
so you're allowed to get bonus deer through that, which is how you're able to kill $5 in a year, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, you depends how much you hunt. You can kill what you want. Pretty much, you can kill as many as you want as long as you stay on the check-in. Sign in. If it says sign in hunts, you have to use your state tags.
Yeah. Georgia has some really tremendous opportunities, and I really enjoyed hunting it last year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So hey, Glenn, let's kind of dive a little bit deeper in all this, okay? Because you talked about you killed 5 good bucks this past season. All between 3.5 and I think you said like 5 years old, give or take. Now, when it comes to this, I know you've been hunting these areas for a long time. You're talking about hunting these public parcels, these management areas, these walking areas, all these different places, for almost 35 years. First off, when you're looking at a piece of public land, and I know you probably know a lot of these places like the back of your hand, but there's got to be times when they're either logging or they're doing something, the state is, that changes the game a little bit, or maybe just hunting pressure, where these deer might move just a little bit in their different areas. What are you looking for, say, like, either this time of the year or during season, like when you're doing in-season scouting while, trying to hike to a spot, what are you looking for that time of the year that tells you, like, hey, there's a big deer that lives here?
Of course, find his sign, and I just basically draw right to the thickest, nastiest areas on the WMA and the one with the deepest walks, and that's where they'll typically be at. I mean, you gotta, I shrink down that WMA. I'll take that GPS, and I can shrink down 100 acres in a day, even on a new managed area. I mean, I just ride. All you gotta do is just ride around the roads, eliminate all the pretty spots. You see the road. Other people be attracted to. You see one side of a managed area got cornfield or a reputable hunting club by there. Everybody's gonna be flocking over there. You got pretty hardwood flats and ridge. Everybody's gonna be there. I don't even really much worry about food on the most of the farms. Most of them going to be crowded.
Yeah. And that's one thing I was going to ask you about too. Is
I just shrink them down.
It sounds like you're not messing with white oak bottoms or anything like that at all. You're kind of just gravitating towards bedding rather than food, right?
Oh yeah. I'll eliminate where I know where everybody else is going to be, like all them places I mentioned, power lines, gas lines. Anything pretty, all the hunter access trails, it's all the short ones. I'm not even interested unless there are, we got a lot of walk-in trails. You got a park and walk-in only, foot travel only, and we got a lot of managers that's got some, half to a mile and a half, 2 mile long. There's a couple I know 3 miles long, and I'm gonna walk to the end of them things. And if I see hunter sign, and I'm looking for something that's gonna pay off for years to come. I'm just not looking for a spot of a hunt. If I see old ribbons from 2 or 3 years ago, old ribbons, old rusty glow tack, tree that been climbed, I don't even mess with it. But somebody's gonna pop up saying like, I want to find something ain't nobody hunting.
Yeah.
And recent years, I've been trying to stay find places that ain't got no trees to climb, thick areas with no climbable trees. I'm starting to see a lot of big bucks in these areas, and I'm starting to do a lot of ground hunting. Some of these deer I could have killed on the ground actually.
Oh wow! Okay.
And, what it was, and
yeah,
and I'm starting to see that a lot, and because I know they'll gravitate. I think some of these deer put tall trees and danger together. I used to hunt big flats and down on the coastal WMAs where they log and they grow up in tall grasses, and there'll be single palm trees way there. That's kind of scary to climb because they holler, creaking way in the rim, but you get up about 30 foot up there, them deer, they're always, if there's 1 or 2 tall trees out in the middle of one, you can bank on a buck bed. They orient them trees a lot of times. If they can do that, they can probably realize a long tall timber line, to stay the heck away from.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's definitely something that we want to talk about.
I another plus, water is a lot of key. Cause I look the nastiest swamps in the water. I'm gonna find, look at on the manners there. If there's tussocks around the trees, sizable or island, I'm gonna wait out there if I ain't over waist deep.
Yeah.
And jump, I jump a buck. If I think I'd do too much damage, I'll wait the next year to hunt him. But, and I also walk around all them bogs and bays, see if trails are coming in and out or if they crossing them, and they'll go to water. And when they bed, they're going to bed with more water or thick, nasty stuff to the back. So once you find where they bed, the easy way to get there to hunt it is 99% of the time the way they went in the bed. And that's where most people mess up. They, look at this deer trail going out there. Ain't nowhere to get in with right here. So they just walking on the same. You got to find him, and you got to find a back door. You got to find a distant tree. You got to make a tree. Cut a lot of limbs. I have had friends in the past a couple of times towed a temporary light pole out there, and put in the ground. Pair of hoe diggers have something. But I took a come along and straps and put 3 trees together. Wrapped them together, made 1 tree for my climber to go around. I've limb locks if I have to.
That's hardcore.
I took ladder stands and got up 20. I made ladder stands and, got them up 10 or 15 foot where I could put my climber on there and go up some more. And whatever you got to do to make a tree, sometimes you just have to hunt on the ground. And some areas you just got to give up. You just have to back up. You got to find out where the direct trail is and trace it back to, it ain't usually not far from the bed in there. You're going to find a juncture. You're going to find a junction where you're coming from 2 or 3 directions. So, and a lot of times that'll be somewhere you can at least put a ground vine if it's too thick to look into his bedding area, and I'll try to get there. But when I'm marking all these spots, especially find them after season, after hunt, you gotta do that compass and see which way that wind is, north, northwest, or whatever. That's our normal wind flow, during the winter down here. So I'll go ahead and have everything prepped, and this thick cover, the GPS is fine. That's, of course, that's straight as air, but you got to trim just a little bit and maybe glow tack here or there, but don't bring it all the way back out to somewhere open, GPS that spot, and then you crawl in your little rat hole, and then you can open up in your trail and take off and get in there. My biggest thing is, I would say the best thing is, scout right after hunt, scout after season. Go right where the digger laying, back off, put your stand, figure where you're going to climb, and have your trail to get in there without using his trail, and get in the tree super early, and you can stay consistent all day long.
Now, hey, Glen,
that right there is called making your own luck.
Yes. Now, hey, so with all this being said, Glen, and everything you're saying has got us absolutely fired up. And I know there's probably listeners right now freaking out because they're like, "Why have we never heard of this guy before?" So, Glen, when it comes to this, I've got a question for you. When you're hunting these super thick areas, how often are some of these areas more so, just shorter, nastier pines? And the reason why I say that is some of the public land in Alabama we hunt, majority of everything's pine. I know some of that in Georgia is the same way. I've scouted some public land in Georgia, and it seems like that's the case. Down your SMZs, down the creeks and draws, you'll have hardwoods, but everything else is pine. Do you ever find consistently bigger deer in some of these shorter, nastier pines that sometimes won't even have all that much ground cover, but they're just so nasty and choked out? It's hard to hunt.
One of the best places. I got 2 or 3 mares here now that I'm fitting to start hunting on a bar stool, actually. Best spot. I'm going to carry a ground chair is too low. A ladder stand is too tall and too big for the little pine. Yeah. So I'm going to get a bull. So there's a lot of broom straw, and a lot of people don't realize a lot of these big little pine plantations, young plantations. I got one here. You walk all the way around the perimeter. It's the thickest, nastiest jungle. Man, they must have planted by an airplane. But once you get out in the middle, there's natural openings everywhere, and trails and rubs and beds, and I walk them pines. I mark every trail. I mark places along trails where the most rubs is, and also where there's a trail. I'm usually going to be sitting on a trail junction because he's going to connect the dots. And one of the better trails is the one that's just inside the pines. If it's paralleling an access trail that people walk, or a power line or a road, because we've killed a lot of bucks. And some of my buddies, because these bucks, when they're looking for does, you probably seen them do it on regular roads. They come out, step on a road, and they just come down the road sitting sit checking every trail that crosses the road. Then run up the next trail, sit check the next one, run up.
Yeah, kind of cutting across them. Kind of cutting across them parallel.
Yeah, that's side to cover. And we had a thing. My friend always laughed at me all the time. Said, we'll stagger hunt. I mean, buddy system is great. If you got two friends, and you can't go wrong, you can about do this blind. Anywhere you got a power line and gas line, opening, opening towards, even from there across the clear cut to some more land. Well, deer normally cross a lot to or from, even if it's not signed. If you hunt those parallel trails alongside those paths, you can kill some big bucks. What we'll usually do, want us to go in 50 yards, and other to go down a couple hundred and go in about 100 yards. So that way, if that deer's skirting the edge, if he wins one of us, he's gonna swing out and hit the other one.
Yeah.
And my buddy used to get mad at me all the time because you're hunting with a 270 short mag. It's very loud on a cold morning. He'd hear that he had good hearing. We'd be hunting close. I mean, we could just see pieces of each other's arm, but we'd be hunting thick too, And he'd hear the deer coming, hear mac. And he'd go ahead and put his finger in his ears. Boom.
Now, with a lot of these bucks that you've killed lately, when do you see them moving? Because, I mean, from what it sounds like, you are hardcore hunting the beds. You're hunting, like, bedding areas. You're getting real aggressive and pushing up there with them. Are you seeing all-day movement? Are you seeing movement early in the mornings? Which that second buck that you were talking about killing, that second buck you mentioned when we started, that thing was in its bed, I think you said, and it stood up at like 10:30 and you killed it. Can you just kind of walk us through what you've seen, like kind of their activity is in a bedding area?
Well, most of the time it's going to be the first 15 minutes of legal light, and then usually around 8:30. For some reason, I always kept track of times I've killed deer in the mornings, whether it be bucks, does, or whatever. And I would say in the morning time frame, probably 80% of my deer is between 8:15 and 8:45. That's always been a sweet spot. I think what it is, that's usually about the time around this area in our part of Georgia, the sun gets top of the trees, and that's their trigger to get to their daytime bedding areas. A lot of times people don't realize, especially on the managed area, you see a deer, you kill a deer between 8 and 9, he's moving along, browsing something. That deer that ain't really up moving the feet, he's actually browsing back. He's actually got up from his nighttime bedding area. So it takes him 4 to 6 hours to chew the cud on a full stomach. And most time these deer are going to be bed around, 3 or 4 o'clock. He had hunting pressure and rut and other variables, of course. A lot of times it's on the shorter time frame, man. But them deer are actually going to lay down in their daytime. They shift into their daytime bedding areas, actually. A lot of those deer you see around the 8:30, give or take time. And then the next best time, if they bedded them for daylight, adding that hour time, every minute you ain't seen nothing, that's a minute closer. You got to remember that. About 11, I've killed a ton of deer. I'd say around 8:30, my main time. My next best time is around 11:30, I would say, give or take a few minutes. So that's usually when they gonna stand up and stretch and use the bathroom and browse. They might be in there. I read they got to be on top of the bed, and there a lot of them won't come out to the main food source, but they'll be bedding, and browsing on whatever's around their bedding area. And they'll mill around. They'll get up 5 or 6 times, mill around a lot of times in those bedding areas. But you got to get high. And you mentioned the pine. I love them pines. I love a view 30, 40 foot up a pine. And you can see rabbits and head high gallberry bushes, when you're up that high.
Yeah.
And they feel safe. That deer's he got weeds and stuff top of his back. He pretty well thinks he's hid. And you mentioned like grasses and weed fields. I hunted in weed fields on a couple, and all they got's a lolly pine here there, and he pretty much got to hang a ladder stand up there, drag a ladder stand out there, and leave it in the bushes, abandon it kind of, you know what I mean, and then hunt it. It comes season. But there are a lot of deer orienting them weed fields. If it's chest high, head high, some of these mare deer they got now used to be farms, and they let them grow up, and boy, them deer are everywhere. I remember them bottlers just tell me when they'd go cut with a tractor, I'm coming out of the thicker woods, seen a handful of deer. I've always seen about 30 there on the hill. And I said, well, dang, that's completely reverse. The deers ain't going in the swamps and the thicker pine lip. They're laying on the hill. They come hunting them backwards.
Yeah.
But I love the small. There's always going to be deer in small pine and wheat fields and such. And like I said, that's what we hunt down here, mostly pines. And with managed areas, I best you stay out of swamp. You know, when I'm talking about hunting swamps, I'm hunting the nastiest bog, bay, whatever they got in the whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm primarily around pines or in pines the huge majority of the time.
Now, with the daytime beds, you mentioned daytime beds, and there's this idea in the whitetail hunting world that, you know, a buck specifically will go out and he'll usually put something to his back with the wind coming over his back. Like he might bed up against a log, and he's got the wind coming over his back, and he can see what's in front of him. And so you can kind of use that strategy to more or less predict where exactly they might be laying. Have you seen any truth to that? Do you think that they're using the wind to their advantage and things like that?
Oh, yeah, they're going to bend. When they bend, they're going to have a wind or a good sharp angle of wind blowing in their face when they bend. And behind them is going to be something most of the time. You know, they could be something thick and looking out of a big opening. I've killed bucks that, you know, I had to wait for them to get up out of their bed because they're too close to a road to even kill them before. And I'd be 50 yards off a road to shoot one, you know, legal-wise.
Yeah.
And they'll bed. I killed one at B.F. Grant one time. He was bedded. You walk down a long access road, probably 3/4 of a mile. In fact, they edited Brad Gill. I went up to B.F. Grant, never hunted there. He told me a long access road to get deep. And my buddy went up, and it curves off, and he just went straight up on the ridge and seen 2 big bucks. And both them bucks was bedded behind a log, looking down the whole valley at the access trail, watching everybody come in and out for 300 yards worth of walking.
Yeah.
So we had GPS where it went around the curve, so we'll be walking down that road, and I projected the waypoint. I could guesstimate how far it was up on that ridge, and there's kind of a canyon you got to go around. So I just projected a waypoint. We walked about a half a mile just to hunt. You know, we walked over a half a mile just to hunt less than a quarter mile from the road to circle around. I got over by that log about 3 minutes after daylight. He come over and I killed him right behind the log.
Yeah.
But they like to bed behind. They're gonna have something where they can hear danger coming, or see it clearly or something. But you're gonna have to try to figure out a way to, you know, peek in that back door. You got to figure a window. You know, I've carried limb saws retractable and get. A lot of times you ain't got a shot. You tree. You finally get a tree, but there's foliage angling. You know, and your bullet path going diagonally down to where the deer is at, and you'll have to try to, you know, cut some of them limbs out. You got to do all this stuff, and you know, in January, February, do that where you turkey hunting at the latest. He got months to get over it, but don't go there and mess around and rearrange his bedroom. Now I've seen them lead the country. People go there and trim too much right around them, and never come back. But
now,
anyway, biggest thing, walk them a lot of miles.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people, this isn't quite as big of a subject in the South, but I'm still curious to know your thoughts on it. You'll hear a lot of guys talk about the quote-unquote October lull, where deer activity just kind of seems to slow down a little bit. Do you have any thoughts on that? Are you seeing a difference in deer activity while you're hunting these, you know, more remote bedding areas? Yeah,
sometimes we have them. If you see on a lot of managed areas, you'll see a lot of chasing going on, and not so much breeding, but a lot of chasing and cruising bucks and deer, and it just have a lot of action, and then it'll die. But what has happened is a lot of them bigger bucks is connected with the does, and they're going to go find them a little place somewhere and hang out for 2 or 3 days or a few days or whatever, and they just kind of hide and slow down. I've seen it slow down, but that's when I'll get even thicker, you know, and get in the thicker areas, or just change managed areas. If it gets too bad, I'll just go to another one. But usually I'll stay on the chicken hunts. I'll ride them out where I get my 2 free deer, and or at least one, you know, depending on what the freezers look like. So that's about all we eat. We don't buy too much grocery store meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, hey, Glenn, so you talked about earlier when we were talking about beds and everything, talking about these shorter pines, hunting off the ground. How often are you adjusting your style of hunting to accommodate for what's happening with the bedding areas and what the bucks are doing? And what I mean by that, you talk quite a bit about hunting out of a climber, but how often are you changing gear? I mean, how often are you, changing it up, hunting off the ground, trying to get that ladder stand out there so you can get higher up in a tree, whatever. How often are you doing that to be able to stay where you need to stay to find these deer, but also as these deer possibly move with the hunting pressure, how often are you changing what you're doing to kind of, keep on these deer?
Oh, I usually got enough stands. I always like something new. I ran across like the WMAs. I very rarely sit the same stand twice on the same hunt. I like to sit a different spot every morning and every evening if possible. And it's got to be a really hot spot. And like I said, I believe in first time the best time. And I got so many places I've scouted out. It's killing me not to. On a 3-day hunt, I got 6 to 10 places I want to look at, and I got 3 mornings and 3 evenings, and my mind before the hunt starts, I know where I'm going to be every morning, every evening, and I won't change that unless one spot really hot. And I will change up. I will change up if I'm getting glimpsing deer moving out of sight, hearing deer out of sight. And I won't wish them to come closer. I just get over there closer to what it was. Because if one deer or two's coming by me, and I figure it's a good buck or multiple deer come by, I'm hurrying getting down. And unless there's some factors, I know they may circle back around. And depending on that area, every area is different. But I'll get down and move to that spot and hunt it on the ground right there. I'll just lead the climber and get over there where they at and go ground hunting right there. If 1 or 2 deer moving during the rut, if there's a hot doe coming by, you bet your bottom I'm coming down and get over there. Well, actually, everything on her trail.
Yeah.
And if I know she's hot, I'm gonna have to get real hungry to leave. So they gonna be coming throughout the day. And midday, oh man, you need to be midday on managed areas. Probably 10 to 2 is one of the strongest times there is for a trophy buck. And then when all them they hear all them trucks and stuff rattling back to camp and going down the roads, crunching gravel, beating and ramming around, it gets quiet. It's like Pavlov's dogs. They slobbering, they ready to roll. They see a lot of bugs. I had a friend of mine, a real good friend of mine. He's a very successful WMA hunter. And because of his health, it's hard for him to do 2 hunts a day. So he goes in, he stays. He's not coming down to 2 or 3 o'clock. It's unreal the numbers of quality bucks that he sees and takes. And it's hard for me to sit at 2 or 3 o'clock. So what I do a lot of time, I'll sit at 9 or 9:30 or 10. And I'll run back to the truck, and I always have a secondary spot. If I can't get quite to every tree place I got planned to hunt, I got it somewhere nearby, either a little deeper or off to the side or right before or off the side of the road. I got to back up. So I run a truck, regroup myself, and I run a jumper stand and stay at 2 or 3 o'clock. And I have a lot of success doing that.
Yeah. Now, I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit here, but there's so much to talk about. At the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned stuff about walking down like thickets and jumping a deer and setting up right there in the dark and sitting on that, kind of like a bump and dump kind of thing. Can you talk a little bit more about that and maybe some success that you've had with like spooking deer and then setting up right where you spooked them out of?
That was from another old timer. I'm always learning something. These folks always listen, and this is probably back in the 90s as well. And I've always wondered why. I've always heard about coon hunters going hunting, and that's, man, we walk by deer all the time. Big old buck just sit right there. We walk right by them, dog went by them, and they ain't scared of us. And people was always talking about the coon hunter run all the deer off. And so them deer ain't scared us at night. And I'm thinking, dang, I'm going to stand early and bump deer and then, dadgummit, or he'll run off. And dadgummit, it'll be dinner time when they come back out now. Mm-hmm. But if you'll go, I don't know, when you hunting in them thickets where you know you're going to bump deer, And I mentioned Lake Eufaula, and you got all kind of core property on both sides, Alabama and Georgia. There's a lot of core property. You got the federal refuge property. You got the state WMA block, just a huge amount of land. Them deer, it's all bow hunting, but them deer are bed on them open acorn flats, and you can't do, they're not going to bed there. There's not that much pressure, not that many people bow hunt over there. And so they'll bed right up under that hot tree, right where you need to climb. And I couldn't do nothing, go in there, bump them early in the morning, 30 minutes before daylight, 45 minutes before daylight. Might get one every night, and they might cruise back in about 11 o'clock. But anytime you got a real hot tree, food source, they're going to be there at midday. You can bank on it. A real quick add-in. If you hunt crabapple persimmons and you getting busted by the evening thermal, hunt them 11 to 2. You'll kill more there in the morning and the evening put together. But anyway, get back to subject. I said, well, one day my buddy didn't show up. We was going to a more distant place. I wound up in a tree at about 3 hours before daylight. And I bumped deer. I hear them walk around. I use that stylish screen light. And you can walk under turkeys with it and don't spook them on the roof. The little pin light, and I just keep my feet, and I heard them get up, move them, shuffle around. Come daylight, and those areas all are bedded around about right where I heard them move off to. They just moved 20, 30 yards. Let me put my climber on the tree and scoot up and everything. And I started doing that, on the feed areas, and I transitioned over to the bedding areas. And a lot of times that deer hear that noise, and I think he'll just take off, be safe, and he really don't know what it is. He might not have never smelled you, but for some reason unexplained, deer do not, you can take this to the bank, deer do not spook 2 hours before daylight and earlier. Deer do not spook at dark nowhere near as they do an hour or a few minutes before daylight or right before dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I get in them areas and them bedding areas, I get them super early. I got a friend that that same friend I mentioned, he killed a lot of 140 and 150, killed them up to 169 class bucks in Tippah County. He never advertised none of them. He killed a lot of them. He got in the trees at 12:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And I got a lot of thoughts from him. Them deer, that way he knows the deer is long gone. He's out in the field. There's a lot of branches. It's like threading through agricultural fields. Might be 100 yards wide, might be a quarter mile. But he'll find where the buck's bedding through scouting the prior year. And then he'll go in there with his climber and all, climb up 12:30 at night. And I think it lets your scent, your scent dissipates down too. Your scent ain't as hot on the ground, that deer. And if he does smell it, I think a lot of times like them deer smelling you even 2 hours before daylight, he's thinking that you are is a strong less. And I'm just putting this in my mind, but I'm thinking, well, that deer's thinking I'm further away than I actually am, and I'm not in a harmful way or distance away from him, or I walk through there hours earlier and I'm long gone. Or I've seen deer smell people that walk through 30-minute fire from a tree, freak out, and then I've seen them smell where others walk, earlier that day or mine that morning, and not pay it no mind. I mean, it's burn off. The hotter the scent, the less worried they're going to be.
Well, that's like if you've ever chased a rabbit. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I just hit her super early. And if you bust one on your entry trail, that's not so much a big buck, but if somebody's bow hunting with those, and if you have a lead doe bust you, and on a real hot scent, and I've killed several deer around the lake doing that, and they'll usually all run all directions, and the lead doe will usually blow a lot, and if you'll blow back at her, she'll blow, and I just keep blowing back and forth, and some of the other scattered deer get confused, and they'll come over there with me with my tree and blow back at her.
yeah, I've killed deer doing that before. Yeah, I've killed a couple like that.
Well, I'll say, Glenn, a topic you just talked about that I really, really want to hit on since you're hunting in the bedding areas is scent, okay? What is your thought on scent control? What's your thought on scent products, and what do you do from keeping yourself from getting busted by these deer when you're in the bedding areas? I mean, are you just pretty much playing the wind, or use anything else? You can kind of just give us that rundown of your thoughts on all that. I
kind of go against the grain. I reckon what I say, that this little talk here would say what I do to be successful instead of what everybody else needs to do. But it may work for them as well. But I used to be a scent purist, and I worry about everything. Change that clothes in the bags, and change at the tree, screw the rubber boot. It got so much of a job. It got to be a hassle. It's taking the fun out of it.
Yep.
I relaxed a lot of majority of that stuff. I get just as close as deer, see as many deer. And but the only things I do, I use I use Hunter Green, that Hunter Specialty Green shampoo. I love it. I use it year round. And that stuff, it's not oily grease. I don't know if you ever used it or not, but man, it lathers up good in your hair and your body. I mean, you can get in. I just use it because you can get in out of the shower quick with it. I love it. I use it year round. It continues to kill bacteria through the day. I mean, you find it at your regular Walmart, Hunter Special, that green shampoo. And I keep a pair, and I keep rubber boots, try to keep them clean. And I wash my clothes in sports wash or sometimes baking soda. But most of the time, lately, the last few years, I've been using all detergent, just any old store, Walmart or wherever. And it's got no UV brighteners, no fresheners, no additives. It's supposed to be it's made for people.
For people with allergies.
Yeah, but I've been using that all with great success. It don't feed you camo bad and all. But through our winds, I used to, with the puff bottles and all, man, it changes so much. We got a lot of flatwood. We're not hunting a lot of steep land. Most of the, I hunt about 30 something, and there's not really that much high land making a difference. You hunt around a lake, Hatchet and stuff like that over there. There'd be some hills, in the evening you stay low, in the morning you stay up higher, build a trail type deal, the way the thermal. But in the mornings, everything's pretty much lifting, and I climb. And the other thing is I climb high, so I'm thinking you get up high, that scent's gonna go across the ways before it settles down. Be going over your deer even with the wind wrong. And it changed. And you can say with a puff bottle and about every place you climb down here on most of these managers, that wind every 30, 45 miles an hour, you check it going a different direction. I really don't even worry about it unless I know a Zach bedding area and I'm walking across like a more open area and I know it's just barreling in there on him, strong wind with the front coming in or something like that. But normal, winter mornings, calm, slight breezing. I just get in there super early, try not to touch no more, stay off the deer's entry trails. I kind of know where they go in and out bedding. You don't want to walk on theirs. A lot of people do that. Look at this deer trail going in here. Don't walk down there. Man, you just left your calling card. You gotta stay away from there. You gotta kill him. You gotta come in off the back porch to kill him. I just killed this many deer. I'm a firm believer that deer is gonna smell you. There's nothing you can do. You ain't gonna convince me. I've got friends use all them charcoal suits and this and that. And I think you always gonna get smell. You might make your scent weaker. He might think you further away, pass through their hours earlier. But if you're getting a tree early, keep your boots clean. Try don't touch nothing. I wash my clothes good. Wash myself good with that Hunter Green shampoo or gun, and I ain't tell no difference. And I used to do every scent ritual. They was known to man, and I quit with scents totally because I have had too much mixed results with all scents. I don't use no scents no more, no kind. They'll work like gold. You think they're working, and then that biggest buck come around and it messes you up. And plus, when they get that whip, they're gonna key in on everything. They're gonna smell everything, and they're gonna pick up every little hint of whip in. Their old factory senses are going to go in overdrive. They think they smell a hot dough, so they're going to pick everything in that area apart.
Well, that was fantastic. Now, because there's a lot of guys out there that have the same kind of thought process as you do with the scent. I mean, you're very similar to us. Sometimes, I think one thing we'll try this year is actually using some like that same there's a couple different brands that makes that non-UV.
It's for sensitive skin.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm going to try to start using it this year because in the past I didn't even worry about that all that much. And me and Andrew, again, we just play the wind, use milkweed as kind of like our wind detection. But we don't hunt nearly as high as you because we're hunting out of saddles, which is kind of curious because I always heard growing up, you can always beat a deer's nose if you get 40 feet up, if you've got a good, especially if you've got a good thermal too. But that's pretty interesting. Now, one thing I want to touch on with you, Glenn, is what is your two-part question, okay? First off, what time of the year or what time of the season, kind of month-wise, are you having a lot of success or more of your success? If you kind of look back at the last, 10 or 12, 15 years for bucks? And then also, what is your thought hunting like that early season time frame, hunting these bedding areas when everything's green, it's thick, it's hot, mosquitoes, what are you doing during that time? And again, have you ever killed any deer at that time of the year as well?
Oh yeah, most of the weather I kill buck, we sweating down here in South Georgia, and you kill a big buck anytime in an hour circle of me right here. The rut right here at me in the local WMAs is about the first 10 days of November. You can go just a few minutes, a half circle around me, and the main ruts in late October. And you can go down there toward the coastal WMAs, an hour and a half away, and there's that hunt down there in September, and they in rut down there in September wide open. And so I chase the rut. I time frame everything. When the Reds come up here shortly, I'll make me a hunt calendar. I'll notate all the check-in hunts and my favorite WMAs, of course. And I'll time frame everything and time frame the hunt. Your coastal one's going to be your early hunt, and I know the times of the rut. And so every hunt that I got on that calendar weekly on the month, I'll make me some monthly calendars every week. And, I'm chasing the rut. And, all the way to December. And I usually always go to quota hunt like Chickasaw Hatchie, and I hunt Hatchie as well. Them deer rut in December a lot, sometimes later. So I time the WMA hunts and check-in hunts, and always a different manager area every week. And we camping and have a good time. And when we're hunting the manager area, your success rates are typically in the single digits to the 20 to 30 percentile range, which that's considered a great hunt. When you got, hundreds of people out there and you're one of the 30, 40, 50 or less people that kill both you do, you get kind of a satisfaction. I've been in clubs too, you can't get that from, killing a doe you got named, you see all the time out there,
Yeah.
When you get a WMA, you get just so much more thrill of the chase. You got 3 days to do it. You hunting a pressured animal. You ain't just sitting out there on doing a sit and, go that same ladder stand, sit and stare at a food plot and a feeder day in, day out, day in, day out, or the same stretch of power line day in, day out. I want to look at something. Like I said, I hunt every morning, every evening, and I hunt something different. I'm going in, first time in is the best time, hands down. And usually by finding the security areas, I'm looking for deer, not necessarily big. And I come across their sign, I'll hunt them, but I don't go out of my way. But most of the time, them best places, you're going to see all the deer. You're going to see your meat deer. You're going to see your big bucks. Everything's going to be right here. And, you got the ruts. You got the girls, the boys going to be around there checking on. But that buck going to do connect the dots. All he's going to do is run feeding and bedding areas all day or night, feeding and bedding areas. If you in them bedding areas, them girls, if you bust every doe out of that bedding area, it might take off. If I go there and blow every deer out of there, there's going to be a buck coming through. It might be a midday after everything settles down, scent dies off, dissipate. There's going to be bucks coming through connecting dots, checking on that bedding area.
Now, hey, Glenn, another thing you just talked about that I'm really interested in is, again, how many management areas you hunt throughout the year. I mean, you travel quite a bit throughout Georgia. Now, what my question is for somebody that does not have the database like you do with all these different spots on all these different management areas, what is some advice you'd give to somebody, even like myself and Andrew? I told Andrew this year I really want to focus on one or maybe two management areas in Alabama just to really like dial down and really get a good idea where these bigger bucks are at, where he wants to kind of bounce around a little bit more. What advice would you give to somebody that maybe they've hunted, 3 or 4 different management areas, 5 or 6, but they don't have the database you do on like, hey, I know this area is super hot. You got all these different locations from the years you've hunted out there. What advice would you give to somebody, whether they're going to the property for the first time or they're going to go scout a property for the first time, to find, some of these spots, especially if they're not even in the state of Alabama or Georgia, throughout the southeastern United States?
I mean, one thing you can do at home first, every August, Georgia Outdoor News publishes the WMA hunt statistics. Look at the time frames that you got to hunt. Look at those percentage rates. When you see hunts like 15 to 30-something%, them are your good hunt. A lot of people don't think 15% is good, but it actually is, because a lot of them people are not very good out there, and a lot of the people don't hunt every day of the 3-day hunt. That 15% over a 3-day period, per deer per person. So anything with in the mid upper teens, 20, 30s, pick those WMAs, and also pay attention. Some of them, or a few of them, that typically every second or third year are better. Like you'll see one or a couple in there be like 35%, then the next year it'll be 12%, then it'll be 10%, then all of a sudden, boom, back up to 30%. Look at those cycles. When they print them in the August GON, they'll have the 2 years prior, so that gives you kind of a track record if one is cycling. And that was what I did be first. I get a GPS, learn how to, don't worry about all them extra features and all this. Learn how to mark waypoints and go to waypoint and project waypoint. Because I go in blind a lot of times on a WMA, a lot of times. I've had a lot of success. I look at the aerial map, find a bad place with no road around, and I project, all right, I got to go 1.11 miles. I got my climber on. It's 2 over a day. I'm going to get a head start. I'm going in there. And if I can't climb a tree, I sit on the ground. And I kill a lot of game on the first time and the best time. But get in there, but to get a GPS, study what WMAs and GON in there with high success rates on the times you can go. Get your map of the WMA. You can go Outdoors Georgia app, and you can print off. They give you different things. You can find the old line maps. I like them better because I can write in what I want on the blanks, just black and white line. So I try to get one of them, and I get an aerial one and a terrain one maybe. And but most of ours are flat in this area. But study those maps and the distance gauge on them and all. Like if you look at a block on the aerial and you see a places, it's you see where you are out on the road with that map, and you can take your GPS and the gauge on the map and say and tell how far it is, and project the waypoint, and you go check that area out. It's process elimination. Drive around it when you get to that property. Start shrinking it. Drive all the roads around the perimeter first. Delete everything out of your mind. All the pretty spots you see, places you see where other hunters park. If you see an access road trail, look to see if it's a short one. If it's a short one, everybody's going to be on it. A lot of people walk a long way, but the long ones, notate them. And that's a good head start when they go check area. I want to go deep. And you can find something down a long access road because the few people that do walk the length of them, they don't go out in the woods. So you can always go out in the woods. But, when I do that, I'll hunt at least dinner. And sometimes there'll be a few people sitting there after dinner, I'll come out at 12:01 or something with dirt. Dang, you were by there? Yeah, I was there a while ago. Ahead of you. I don't want to mess them up, so I get there early. Any power lines, you're going to have drama. Don't even think about it. A lot of rookie hunters, oh, man, there's a beautiful power line. I can see a long way. There's a crop bill down the landline right here in the woods. Man, a bunch of deer going right here probably. Eliminate all them pretty areas, all them right-of-ways, big campgrounds, parking areas, and you go down them trails, look for, trees climb, old ribbon glow track trail. Like I said, I want to find something fresh. I'm looking for something that's going to pay off in future hunt. So, and I like to look for them spot trees ain't big enough to climb it, but they're growing. If you've been hunting, you said you hunt pine. There's a lot of pines, there's a few trees. Once you get there, you can find a tree one among them here or there to climb. See those areas. I tell a lot of people, go to find your walking access trail, but you need to be at those early and keep them drama. People, I've been hunting here 20 years. I always hunt this spot, but they probably go in there 50 yards, 100 yards, 200 yards, and the trail is for hunter access, not them hunter access, but everybody's access. So, that's their gamble if people walk by them on a 2-mile trail, that's for access to get to bigger, deeper expanses of woods. If people's hunting on that trail a lot, just get there and dive off in the woods and, you can take that GPS and mark it when you leave there and then go out in the woods and find you something there.
Well, we can circle back to that if you remember it, but the last question I really had for you, something that I'm very curious about, is I just would like to know your go-to strategy where, let's say it's the first week of bow season, acorns are just starting to drop, and it's not rut yet. What's kind of your go-to strategy for that type of hunt? I mean, let's say it's opening weekend. Where are you going to go to kill yourself a buck?
Oh, I'm definitely going to try to find those early acorns. You want to get out here before season start. They're going to be on them early acorns. Get your binoculars there and try to find you some acorns. And then our WMAs are great for bow hunting. There's really not much pressure. You can hunt. You can hunt normal, put it that way.
Yeah.
You can go back on the food sources. I'll look for the early acorns. Sometimes we'll have some muscadines and stuff, grapes growing a little late, but most of the time they go on time to open. If you find a big crop of them, definitely check them. They grow late over there by Eufaula. I got a spot over there. I've killed a lot of deer on it. It smells like a wine factory. There's so many over there on the ground. You're popping them on your feet. Old time walking through there. Awesome. But you can hunt the food sources bow season. Great. I'm not really that thick then. We really ain't got a whole lot of pressure on our WMAs and bow season because I reckon being South Georgia and, Middle Georgia and down, it's hot. A lot of people, you got to love it. And And I just stay on the food, and you'll see a lot of nice bucks on these acorns. They be in the bachelor groups too. You can see several bucks. It's a great time to bow hunt. I love it. I love the hot weather. You know, if it was too hot to hunt, it ain't never too hot. Them deer live in that hot weather. They're used to it. And let me throw this in now. Bow season, if you got a hot food source, biggest thing is scent. Because a lot of times a deer's gonna come from a branch or a lowland. You know, even though it's flat woods over most of that little bit of lower land, that's where your scent's gonna draft down with the thermals every evening. If you get busted once or twice, and you know it's a hot food source, you see the deer sign, all the deer peels under it where they've been camping on, even the beds when they lay down at night under it and stuff. Come back. If it's a hot tree, they gonna be back there before 11 o'clock anyway. I've killed a slew of deer between 11 and 2. In fact, I have killed more deer, I would say between 10:30 and 2:30 on salmons and crabapples in that time frame. I have mornings and evenings put together. And then the acorns is great, but a lot of times, you know, I'll stay on acorns till at least dinner. You know, you do bump, you know, if you get on normal times, you don't always go in 2 hour daylight. That gets to the point where the deer's hardcore bedding on them. I got to. The only way to hunt them. That's a great food sources. Scout them food sources bow season first and foremost. I really don't worry about the bedding areas then. You know, you can push him later with the guns in there or the bows. You know, there's a lot of bow hunting only man there. I killed probably, but bow season find those early acorns, and that'd be little water oaks, pin oaks, and if you can find that early white oak, chestnut oak, what have you, man, you got a gold mine there.
Yeah.
So, Glenn, I got another question for you, and I really like asking guys like yourself this question, and I've asked this to a couple other guests that we've had on the past. And the question is, really, first it starts with a statement. I heard this from some guy back in the day, and I really do believe it, that, you know, 10% of the hunters are killing, on public land, 10% of the hunters are killing roughly 9% of the game. Kind of like guys like yourself, guys that are going in that have the knowledge, the know-how, and have the drive to go in there and are just absolute killers. Now, with that being said, what is your thought on what is the defining factor from like average Joe Blow that goes on public land? He may or may not even kill a deer in a year. He might kill a doe or a little buck, whatever, compared to guys like yourself or some of your buddies who are going on, you're having tremendous success on public land, almost to the point that people almost won't be able to believe it. You know, what's that defining factor between, again, like yourself and some of your buddies to like old Joe Blow that's just going out there and, you know, says he hunts public land, but, you know, he's really not doing much?
Well, you're gonna have to let the lesser deer go. If you're in an area with seeing a good bit of deer, whether it be a forward, because they're there because of a food source or near their bedding or security area, the bigger bucks gonna come around. They're gonna be around there to check on the does and all, and you got let a lot of deer go. You know, that's one reason I had such a great year. I got behind on. We process all our own meat. I freeze everything in quarters, and throughout the year, I get a certain amount out and process and eat it, but due to a lot of travel and some other factors, we got behind on our processing. So I wound up actually trophy hunting more than a lot. So, I trophy hunting more because I really didn't need a meat. I just watching the deer. I'd get a meat there every now and then. But by passing these deer up, that's always been added. You got to pass them up to get the bigger one. And if you're in a good deer spot and you're seeing deer, they're going to get bigger. And if you got early season bachelor groups, 90% of the time, and them bucks get bigger as they come out. And it seems like the biggest one is always the last one. And sometimes he'll be a few minutes behind them. He won't necessarily be single file within sight neither. So you got to watch. And our deer, we have so many does that come in early in the rut. You could have a hot doe anytime in September or to February. And we're seeing this rut's spaced out now. There's, there'll be a strong winter in the area, so you'll see more bucks running if the weather's great. If it's hot, we won't even see much rut. It'll all be done at night in case. But you got to just pass up the deer and stay in those areas where other deer is, and you're gonna see the bigger one sooner or later.
Yep. Well, that's awesome, and I'm glad you kind of said it because I think a lot of guys, I think you put enough time on public land and you really just try to learn and don't get stuck in a rut. There's so many guys out there that I know, because I've been there, where you keep doing the same old same and you get the same results. Okay. And when the results aren't great, like you're not killing those big deer, or you're not even killing deer period, or you're not even seeing deer in public land, you got to change up what you're doing. And it seems like you've done it enough in the past where you know when to change, how to change. If one property's not hot, you're going to another property, you're trying to get on that hot sign, that hot action, which is fantastic. Now, to kind of like wrap up this episode, what is maybe like a last piece of advice you'd give to both me and Andrew, and also our listeners out there, on just hunting public land or just high pressure, private land? What's a piece of advice you'd give us to kind of wrap up this episode?
It'd be hard to pick any one thing. I just run through a nutshell. I reckon you need to, when you hunt these WMAs, you gotta hunt deep, hunt thick, check all them places that other people know they're riding right by that's ugly from the road. I mean, I've killed a lot of ugly places. I got 2 or 3 places on some thick areas. I'm watching everybody drive by in a truck. I ain't waiting for everybody coming by me. I killed this every year in them. But check them places out, other people, where other people ain't going. Look for clues to other people. You can see where they put out old trails and old ribbons, and you see rested Joe tacks and climb trees and toilet paper behind the bushes and whatnot. Just go out there with a mentality. You want to find your spot. You want to find a honey hole. You determined to find it, no matter how much it takes. Burn that boot leather. Get that GPS. That GPS, you can shrink down the acreage quick. Every time you find a good area, mark it. Then you can drive other roads a lot of time and drive up and hit that waypoint. Man, that's a shortcut through here. And in a lot of them places, you start connecting dots. You start seeing a kind of a nucleus of an area where most of the sign is. Just stay away from people, hunt deep, hunt thick, hunt nasty, overlooked areas. And come gun season, start getting thicker, and where they suspect they bed, and like I mentioned, I reckon another one of the biggest things is, if you can scout the day after a hunt, or if you have to scout right before the hunt, some of them deer come back. You ain't gonna run all the deer off. But like I said, you're gonna always have them big bucks. They're gonna be connecting dots. Get there, go find out where they at, and look for any clue of anybody hunting around there. You'll see signs that somebody hunts that area. Try to find your area, somewhere that's gonna pay off for you. And find it and prep it and stay out to the morning you're gonna go there and kill something. First time in the best time. And if somebody wants to hunt Georgia WMAs, shoot, we'll help you. There's a loose knitted group of us. We're easy to find on the internet through GON and blogs and Facebook and stuff like that. If we out there somewhere, give us a shout on Facebook. We'll help you out. We'll get you started. I got way more than I can hunt. I'll point anybody anywhere. I help a lot of people. That's one reason I started writing. If we don't help all these people start killing deer and catching fish, they're gonna quit. Our numbers are dwindling down. They're bad, and we're gonna wind up we lost our rights to hunt and fish. Cause, these millennials ain't doing it much, and you see so many younger people start. They'll go buy everything. That's part of enthusiasm. They'll be getting new camo and guns and stands and even people fishing. They get them a boat and and they all enthusiastic, and they'll go out gung ho a trip or two, and they don't do nothing. They're done. You see all that stuff on the sale post, and they sell it and they quit and they get rid of it. If them same people would have went out and they had somebody help them have some success, you would hook them, and that would very much keep our hunting heritage alive. And I love it. I love to help people. I'd rather care somebody see them kill one than me. Lord bless me tremendously. If I don't kill another one, I could just guide people around. Don't charge them a dime. I help people all the time. I put them in stands, walk them in their stands, and everything. Kind of show them what to look for, and later on they kind of look. They can do it themselves. Let's help each other.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree with you more. So if anybody wants to go check out some of Glen's past work, you can go to georgiaoutdoornews.com or go to your local gas station or grocery store or wherever you can find a Georgia Outdoor News magazine near you and pick up pick up a magazine and read what he's got because it's good stuff. I definitely learned from him. So, Glenn, man, we cannot thank you enough for coming on the show today. This has been a really good conversation and got me even more excited for deer season, which I didn't know was possible.
All righty. Just let folks know, I don't want people think I'm Daniel Boone or tell them my way's the only way, but this is all I do. It's pretty simple. That's what I do, and I keep killing critters, and I keep eating them too, so I'm happy.
Absolutely, man.
But give us a shout. We can help anybody. A lot of my articles got an email in there if they're going somewhere from me or whatever. I'll try to help them out. I might not give you my honey hole until I know you a little bit, But I'll give you something you can start on. And always be prepared. I need to add, I reckon, be prepared to move. I've got there, I always have a backup stand or two. I've even walked a mile and people come everywhere and I just bite the bullet. I just climb down and leave. I'll go find somewhere else. Every daylight or not, I'll just move. Somebody got to adapt. You see the deer moving way out of range, everybody move over there. Get over there. You got to be where the deer is. A lot of people want to hunt. I got a friend, another friend that do it. They want to kill the deer where they want them to be, where they want to hunt. You got to hunt where the deer want to be. You can't hunt where you want to be.
Yes, that is the quote of this episode.
Yep, that's right. That's right, man.
You can't kill them where you want them to be. You got to kill them where they want to be. That I've been saying that for a couple of years now. That is so true. So awesome.
I'll leave you with a funny one time. I heard a guy couldn't speak English with him. Good, he Spanish, whatever, Puerto Rican or something, and he was having a very, very rough time killing deer on the day. Man, I found a honey hole. Probably one of the better. I would say one of the top 5 spots I found in 35 years of sign. It was goodness at the sign. I said, oh man, anybody can kill a deer here. Probably a good one. And I carried him in there, and he's a big guy, and he's scared to get off the ground very high, I reckon. And I'm looking there pointing at all the sign. Look at all these scrapes. Look at the size of these rows, man. They above your knees, boy. It's a big one. And look at that track right there, Good Lord, look at all this sign. They're coming everywhere, food right here. I said, look where these 2 bucks fighting. The whole time he's never looking at another point. He's looking around, looking for a big tree. And he said, no big pine. He can't speak English. No big pine, let's go. What? No big pine, let's go. No good. No big pine. I said, anyway, I killed 3 wall hangers the next 3 times I hunted over here.
Oh, man.
He wanted to hunt where he wanted to be. You got to hunt where the deer got to be. Where the deer want to be, I mean. And it was kind of funny. But to each his own, I reckon.
Yeah, I guess so.